Hello, and welcome to E2E's Business Unusual, a video content series for and by the SME community. Our focus is on helping entrepreneurs navigate this very difficult environment since COVID-19. Today, we're joined by Iain Brown, co-founder of Illuminated Beverages. Iain, welcome, and thank you for being part of this.
Hi, Fergus, and thank you very much to yourself, Shalene and E2E, to invite me for this video interview. Really pleased to be able to support E2E and, more importantly, support young entrepreneurs and SMEs going through this difficult time.
No, and again, thank you. And just to kick things off, could you give us a brief overview of you, about Iain, and your business career, what your interests are kind of today?
Certainly. I basically worked in London after my Master of Law from LSE, worked in London for 2 years in IT, left in the mid-80s to Singapore, where I worked in IT, sales and business development for 5 years, went on to Vancouver and was there 5-6 years working in IT and then in aerospace. I then moved to Hong Kong, working for a company, a US company out of Connecticut, in automotive manufacturing for semiconductor/IT. I was there 10 years and then was promoted to CEO Asia Pacific for that company in Sydney, having been in charge of international sales for 5 years before being promoted to CEO for Asia Pac. I then started a business in Sydney called P2P Community, which was a disruptive business for the Courier Express business. We worked with TNT, FedEx, Emirates Airlines, and Virgin Blue, where we use unutilized assets to deliver express parcels in addition to TNT and FedEx's normal delivery services. Came back to UK in 2006 and established a company called Zigma Ground Solutions. Again, an innovative company. We were specializing in temporary ground protection and temporary roadways. We manufactured our products from recycled HDPE plastic and created a number of innovative products that were sold worldwide and primarily into the oil and gas, electrical transmission, and the outdoor event market, including the Olympics and Glastonbury and so on. I sold that business 4 years ago and started Illuminated Beverages with my co-founder, Mark. He is involved or has been involved in bringing kitchen furniture in from China and Vietnam. I obviously have just outlined my journey in my business career. We started the business to export premium British spring waters and other beverages to Asia. Primary markets being Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, of course, China and India and Sri Lanka. And now I'm obviously still with that business now as co-founder.
Great, thank you. And how has business been impacted?
Yes, it has been quite severely, to be honest, Fergus. As you know, China obviously was the epicenter initially of COVID-19. That was probably one of our biggest markets. It's had impact on Southeast Asia. India is in lockdown for the last 2 months. So our primary markets were severely affected, especially for new customers. Not so difficult for current customers, but new customers are looking to take our brands on board. Everything's been put on hold for 3 to 6 months. At the same time, we were looking to launch our own brand of spring water called Iceni Water in UK in May this year. And of course, that's now been put on hold. So it's impacted our current export business to Asia, and it's impacted our launch of our own brand in UK.
And you're very interested in terms of what you were planning to do. So it sounds like planning to launch something, if we go back in time to January, February of this year. Yeah. So you're going to launch a new product. Yeah. What else were you looking forward to achieving in 2020?
That was the main objective. Although we have a vineyard in Portugal, and that's now producing quite a serious quantity of wine. And this year we were going to incorporate the wine business into Illuminated Beverages and had that as a second product range, both for export and for UK. Of course, now that's been delayed. So our two primary product ranges and our strategy for launching those or continuing the business for those products have been impacted.
And in terms of government aid, obviously there have been various announcements over the last, I'm going to say now, 4 weeks. Have you been able to take advantage of government aid?
We have, Fergus. We've managed to acquire the £10,000 grant, £10,000 grant. That was very useful. And we're working with Barclays, who's our bank, for a loan, interest-free loan. I think up to about £25,000. So it is possible. I think you need to do a bit of work, a bit of research, as always, on these kind of benefits. But it's worth our SME colleagues and young entrepreneurs looking very, very carefully what they can acquire from the government. Unfortunately, I have some friends who are self-employed who are falling between the cracks, which is quite surprising. So that's a bit disappointing that a number of people I know are unable to acquire any financial help at this period of time. But for an SME, there is definitely help out there, and you must look for that help and get that help.
Great, thank you. And in terms of those friends, people in your network who are falling through the cracks, is that because they're self-employed, but they conduct business through a limited company?
Correct. Exactly right, Fergus. Yeah. And it comes down to national insurance payments and different categories you've been paying over the years. So there are a number of kind of traps there that you can fall into. But no, you're correct there.
Yeah, certainly have heard from other members of E2E that this is something they've proposed the government change.
That's right. Yeah.
And just in terms of that greater government response and support for business, do you foresee a change in the expectations of society, taxpayer, government towards businesses?
That is a huge question, isn't it? How is this going to roll out in terms of future generations and debt and national debt and so on? Obviously, it's going to be a huge impact in terms of the tax burden that we're all going to have to endure over the next 20, 30 years, I think. And I think it will be that long. It's hard to judge. I think there's many conflicting theories out there from economists and financiers what's going to happen, but there'll be a big impact on the tax burden. How that's going to be spread and equally spread amongst the population, I don't really know. But it's going to be a different world in terms of, I think, finance. I think interest rates are going to stay low, which is obviously positive. And that will help, the resurgence, hopefully, when we can get to that point. So interest rates are very key. Liquidity is very key in terms of these benefits to small businesses, in terms of loans and grants. So low interest rates, liquidity, they call it quantitative easing, that will be critical for the next, I think, number of years. But it's going to be a different world in terms of a business environment, corporate environment.
Okay. And moving on to the human element, it's easy to forget when we talk about business that these are entities, but then obviously many humans working within them. How are you managing the stress of this situation?
Okay, firstly, I'm happy that our staff, we only have 5 in the company now, but they're all well, the families are well, so that's the main thing I'm worried about. But I'm okay. I'm a pretty resilient guy, having done 20 years in business around the world. In my business career, then obviously, setting up and establishing, growing some companies here. So I've gone through some hard times. So I'm fairly okay. I'm a very positive person. I keep the faith. I take what comes and then work around it. In my last company, we sold Zigma Ground Solutions. We established the company in 2007 and then hit by the financial crisis in 2008. So I've gone through something similar in the very after the first year of the second business I established in 2007 in the UK. So I've learned to keep the faith, be resilient, look at ways to encourage your staff to communicate with them, keep them upbeat, keep in touch with your customers, absolutely critical, and just find ways to work through that crisis. Look at cutting costs, be more efficient, but no, keep the faith. You have to keep the faith because you will come out the other end.
And are there things in terms of keeping the faith that you do?
No, I suppose we keep the faith by keeping in touch with friends and making sure your team are engaged and they're well and they're safe. And I do quite a bit of exercise, I do quite a bit of running, and try and do that, and a lot of dog walking, and a lot of reading and family time. So I think what a positive of this has been that I think a lot of people now are realising that they should spend a bit more time with their family, perhaps, and and try and have that balance. I think it's one of the things that you realise in adversity that you have to do. So no, we're doing well. The team's doing well. We're doing well. So we're hanging in there, and looking forward to just getting through this.
And you mentioned team engagement and keeping them focused and motivated. How are you doing that? What are you doing?
Yeah, we try and have a conference call every week on a Friday. We're now trying to go to Zoom or some sort of video meeting. We tried it on a Friday, 5 o'clock, so we can have a glass of wine or a soft drink or a cup of coffee, and just make sure everyone's okay for the weekend and they've had a good week. And so we try and have a bit of a pleasure, leisure type business team meeting, shall we say.
That's great. And have you seen a team member do something, an employee do something that's either impressed you as a professional or even just a human being?
Just a human being. We have a sales manager in China, Jeremy Kwek, who I've known for 20 years. He worked for me in my corporate life. He was my Asia sales manager when I was running international sales out of Hong Kong. He's just been great in terms of keeping finger on the pulse, keeping things ticking over, but really looking after our customers and making sure they're fully informed where he can. And he's in the epicenter, as you can imagine. So the fact that he's been able to maintain that level of communication is fantastic.
And just as we get to the last few questions, it feels like that you've already spoken about a lot of your learnings in terms of spending more time with your family, being able to take a little bit of a break. Is there anything else that you've figured out either from this or back to 07, 08 that a tough lesson learned that's changed how you operate?
Yes, I think I have. You can be, as I said, you can be very positive, optimistic, and keep the faith, but you must never be complacent. And I think, when things are going very well, always keep your feet on the ground. Always look to have something in reserve. You go back, whether your grandmother told you that or whether your parents told you that, whatever, always make sure you have a backup plan and you have reserves, possibly if you can, of finance or cash, but never be complacent and always be aware of how good things can be and how they can change. And you have to have that awareness to keep your feet on the ground and enjoy the upside, enjoy the journey, but always be ready for the downside if it may come.
And finally, and you've said that it's going to be a change. Going back to old normal is very unlikely. When we end lockdown, what are you looking forward to doing, either personally and or professionally?
I love my job. Always have done. Again, in my corporate career and my entrepreneurial career is traveling, driving business, generating business internationally, meeting new cultures, meeting people. Just that adrenaline, that whole excitement about growing a business internationally. I miss that. Sometimes I do miss going on a plane all the time, but I do miss meeting, getting that contact with people. That physical contact with people around the world. So that's going to be good to be able to drive the business again. In terms of the business environment, I think it's going to change radically. I think there'll be more people working at home. I think companies might be wondering what they're going to do with these multi-million pound expensive office buildings. So I think that's going to change. But no, I want to get back on the road and drive the business as I've always done.
And on behalf of E2E, I just want to say thank you very much for your time and wish you and your family and your business the very best of luck over the coming days, weeks, and months.
Thank you, Fergus. And can I also thank you again, Shalene and E2E, and give my best wishes to all at E2E and their families as well to keep safe and stay well, and to all the E2E members to make sure they're safe and they stay well and look after their families, and to keep the faith.